Welcome back, you guys. This is the Honey Jam podcast. We are your hosts, Janice.
I'm Jessica.
And for today's episode, it's been a while. It's been a while since Jess and I have caught up just one-on-one on Honey Jam. So today we don't have a guest, but we've had some really good guests so far in this season.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been getting like really good feedback. Like it's been a good season listening to our guests and hearing other stories that people can relate to.
Yeah.
And I feel like even our new setup where we meet in person, Janice and I say that we go to like 출장, we go on 출장. Janice lugs all her equipment, all her lights, her camera, her stands, just everything. So ever since, that kind of changed too, I feel like it's brought a different kind of vibe to our pod.
For sure. And today we're gonna go back to our OG days, when it was just me and Jess. Catch up a little bit, keep it super cash. You know how we do on Honey Jam.
You know how we do.
How was your week, Jess?
My week, well, he was
설마.
He was yeah. You guessed it. He was sick. I mean, I guess it's like life with a toddler going to daycare. They're just always gonna have a runny nose, a cough, an eternal cough, as Sambe would say. But yeah, like I think we had like a good 2 or 3 weeks where we were all healthy, we were all thriving, and then starting around Saturday, he started showing symptoms.
Oh, saying it so.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have a fever, and otherwise he's in like good spirits. I will say though, something that's been a little bit of a 고민, something that I've been
a dilemma, if you will.
A dilemma, if you will, yes. Every time I go to pick up Hui at his daycare, the teacher kind of like reports like little snippets of his day. She tells me like one good thing, one bad thing, but then she always has something bad to say.
What's the bad thing? What can he possibly do?
He's a little troublemaker, and yes, he's young, so technically like he's not supposed to be going to this daycare or like preschool. It's a preschool. It starts at 2 and he's literally like a month before he turns 2.
Yeah.
So he is like the youngest there.
Yes,
right?
막둥이.
He's the 막둥이 there. So understandably he is very like behind in terms of like I don't know, communicating and just following rules, because even like a few months makes a huge difference. Yeah.
So naturally
he is, a 말썽꾸러기. But
a little bit of jokester, a little bit of trickster, a little bit of a what's the word? Rascal.
He's a ham. He's a bit hammy.
Little ham.
But yeah, he like every time I go, the teacher's like, 휘가 친구 뽀뽀하려고 그랬어요. So she's basically saying, he tried to kiss a kid. Or like, sometimes she's like, like 휘 shoved a kid, or like 휘 like tried to sit on a kid. So he's very like touchy. Or like he like throws something, or you know what I mean? And like and so like every time I go, I'm just kind of like clenching my butthole. And I'm like, what is it today?
Yeah.
And like, of course I want Hui to be like well behaved, but it's like also like I'm such a people pleaser. So I kind of like project that onto Hui. So if he's being like a nuisance, or if he's being like, bothersome to people, I feel very triggered.
Like to other when he does it to other kids?
To other kids. And like when the teacher's like, I had to, 혼내 him, or like 주의줘서 I had to warn him not to do that. That like triggers like my people pleasing, like, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
No, like I want him to be well behaved and like loved wherever he goes. So that's been kind of like my stressor these days, every day. Yeah, like what now? What today?
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
he is just an expressive kid, you know? If he likes somebody, he wants to
Yeah.
kiss them, he wants to hug them, you
Yeah.
know? Maybe
He's
he
very
gets really
physical.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
he
even
just
when he's excited, he like
mhm.
pinches me or like he like and he pushes me. Cuz like I feel like he has so much energy and like he kind of like releases it that way.
On Jess's Instagram story, she was talking to Hui via a memoji of
Mhm.
some white dude that she created. And
It's
she's
Alan
like,
Stone. Alan
oh, it's
Stone.
Alan Stone.
Yeah.
Alan Stone memoji. And she's like, Hui, you know, you're not supposed to hit your friend. Or what do you say?
So, okay, I made Alan Stone memoji like way before because I did this like stupid like lip syncing video with it. But then I still had it saved as a
Uh-huh.
memoji.
Mm-hmm.
And then what he likes to do is he likes to go through the memoji and like look at the different animals and like I
He
made
loves
like a
octopus.
I made like a haraboji version. So like there's a memoji that looks exactly like my dad, like my mom,
Aww.
even my brother, and like he knows them like by, their names.
Mm-hmm.
But then he saw the Alan Stone one and then we clicked on it and he got like so scared. He was like, Amu, Amu. He's like, 무서워, scary. And then I try to make it like as a teaching moment. I was
Uh-huh.
like, Huya, like you cannot kiss other kids. No touch. You're gonna, I was like making it a little scary.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hi, 친구. Hi, friend. And then he started like wailing because he was so scared.
He's gonna grow up to be a good kid. I know it. Just like his mom.
Just like his
kidding.
mom
Just like his mom and dad.
and dad.
My week, I'm feeling very actually kind of weak myself. I don't know if you can notice. My energy is a little bit low. Something's going around. Something's going around. So everyone, please take care. You know, even though I'm not feeling 100%, I want to show up for Honey Jam. I want to show up for our fans. But yeah, it was kind of a stressful week, I guess. I don't know. So what happened was over the weekend, I was supposed to hang out with Christine, right? And
Our previous guest.
yes, shout out Christine. And I had planned to have dinner with her and just like hang out in her neighborhood. And then I got there, hung out with her for 2 hours. We didn't even get dinner. Like we just got coffee. And then David texts me and says, there's a blackout in the valley right now. And that meant no AC, no like he didn't have a car because I took the car and no one was home. The garage was shut tight, so he was just like trapped. I mean, I think he had the key, so he could have left. When I'm out with my friends, he never says like, "Can you come home?" or whatever. But then this time he's like you have to come home. Like I'm stranded alone in this dark house, you know. And so I felt bad because like I had just arrived there, basically was hanging out with Christine, and like, you know, we didn't get dinner, and she like cleared her whole schedule for me. And so I was like in a situation where I was like feeling so stressed because I was so sorry to Christine, and at the same time I did feel like I should be there for David, you know, like sure he could have Ubered somewhere or whatever, but
Like, where does he go to in that moment?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And so, anyways, I came home. And then, like, when I came home, I was like bracing myself because I knew that David was probably in like a bad mood. Because, first of all, his base is like, I don't know if he talked about it last time, but like we live with my parents in the valley and he hates the valley. That's the base, you know? And on top of that, whenever there's like a blackout or whenever the heat is excruciating or if the wind is crazy, he's just so pissed. Not at me, but just at the situation. Lo and behold, he's not in a good mood, you know, but we try to like make it better. We had like a dinner in the dark with candles and whatever, and it was fine. But then I think it was just like a very sensitive kind of time. And also it was that time of the month, so I was on my period, so I was very sensitive. I don't know how that conversation came up, but we started talking about IVF, and so I started thinking about baby, and I started getting like really sad. And then my throat has been like kind of hurting recently. I don't know why. It feels like there's like something stuck in here. It feels swollen almost.
What?
And it flares up when I like get stressed. I started like just spiraling. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like what if I have throat cancer? And then what if I have throat cancer, if I die? Like it's gonna be so sad for David. And I just started like crying by myself in the dark because like
That's very unlike you.
I know. So it was like there was a blackout, so I was just crying alone like quietly in bed, and David had no idea because it was dark and I was just like pretending to sleep. I'm getting emotional.
Oh, Janice.
I might just edit this out. I was really stressed and I couldn't say anything because I'm like so bad at like processing like my thoughts and like my feelings. And so I just 그냥 그렇게 잤어. And then in the morning, I was like, "Hey, David." I like just burst into tears. I just like bawled in front of him. I think it was just like really hard for me to gather my thoughts immediately. So then the next day it was a lot easier for me to like talk to him. And
I feel like I understand that because like even in the moment when you're crying, you haven't fully processed like these emotions, so it just comes out in tears.
David is really good at like processing his thoughts and like kind of organizing my thoughts for me. And one thing we realized is if someone's mad, not even at me, like my reaction automatically is just like I tense up and I get really, really anxious. That's like my automatic reaction. And then David's automatic reaction is kind of like anger. Like that's our default a little bit. That's kind of like how David always says it's because of our upbringing, the way we grew up. I'm always trying to please my parents. And David kind of grew up being like angry at his parents, you know? So David just wants the affirmation from me. If he's angry, he wants, you know, he wants me to just like be there for him. But then my reaction is if he gets angry is I get stressed and I get like anxious. And so I thought that was like a very interesting observation that he made. And then in the end, David was like, you know, I realized like obviously you have to work on like managing your stress too, but I can work on definitely controlling my like anger, even if it's not at you, because I realized that like stresses you out. Talking about that like made me very thankful because, you know, it's so important to have transparent conversations like that. I don't know. And I think I was just a lot more stressed, not because of the blackout situation. I think I had been stressed for a while about like IVF and baby and like all these things. Just kind of like all just came crashing down on one day.
Oh, Janice. See, that's the thing with Janice. Like, she's such a joyful and kind person. She doesn't even really realize that all the stressors and all the like quote unquote negative emotions, you know, that's like flooding in her. Even that, I feel like you don't want it to affect others, and you know, you don't want your negative emotions to like, you know, rub off, or you know, you're just always trying to spread joy and kindness wherever you are. So, you know, sometimes that kind of eats you up because you're just holding all of that in by yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I really didn't think this would be like an emotional episode. But why are you crying so much?
Because I know it's hard. And you do your best to stay positive. And you are very positive, Janice. Not that you're pretending or anything. You are. You always try to look on the bright side, and, you know, you do your best to make sure that you're keeping yourself busy and, you know, doing your best to like stay hopeful. But, you know, you're going through a lot of, you know, real things, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes. But it's like tears because like I'm so 감동 that, you know, you and David have each other, and I feel the love, and you know.
Can I tell you another story that might make you cry? Oh wait, I already told you this. I told you this.
Don't do this to me.
Working on Honey Jam and like, you know, being more active on like socials and stuff like that has definitely, that's all been, you know, really fun and like keeping my mind off of trying to get a baby and all of that. But I think like, yeah, I think these days, 나도 모르게, it just like kind of caught up on me. And like, we went to New York, right? And that was really fun because we had a lot of good food and all these things. But on the flight to New York, and I told this to you before, there was this like really, really cute baby that was sitting next to us, like so smiley. I was like playing with him because he was so cute and he was just like smiling at me the entire time. And I could see that David was like kind of watching me from in in my peripheral. But then I do this thing where whenever I say cute dog or cute baby, like I give them more attention. Like, so, the parent can also appreciate that. Like, 기분 좋잖아 if someone says like, oh, your baby's so cute, the parent likes that.
Of
So
course.
I'm a expert at lip service. And I obviously, I mean it too. So I'm like, oh my God, the baby's so cute. And I was like talking with the parent. And then I thought David was like, oh my gosh, there she goes again. He just gets annoyed when I like try to, make small talk or like give babies and dogs attention just so I can talk to the parent. But then after, like, when we landed in New York, David's like really not touchy, but he was like putting his arm on my shoulder and like like he was being a little bit more touchy than
and you're
usual.
like, ooh.
And I was like, oh, what is this? But I was like, I guess he's like in a good mood. And so I didn't say anything. I didn't mention anything because the moment I say like, oh, David, what's going on? He'll like draw back, So I was just enjoying my moment. But then he goes, oh, like in the plane, I saw you like interacting with the baby.
Oh God. Oh
He was just like, I feel like you would be so happy like when we get a baby or something like that. 그냥 보기 좋았다고. And so I was like, what? And then I started off like being all happy that he was touching me to just like crying as we're walking to get our luggage.
Bursted into tears.
Yeah, I was like, what? That's so sweet, David. I thought you were judging me.
Well, David said he was like tearing up, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. He said he teared up, and that's what made me cry.
Yeah, because he
So,
got just emotional from
Yeah.
like perhaps imagining you as like a mom.
Yeah,
And like seeing how happy and how amazing you'll be.
yeah, exactly.
But oh, and I believe it. Janice, wherever she goes, she's the best auntie, and she just loves on all the kids that she knows and loves. Even recently, he is turning 2 next month
already.
and we're throwing him a octopus party. Octopus.
So smart.
Because he's obsessed with octopus for some reason. Toward is when Koreans have like a big, first birthday and they like invite family and friends. But then usually like starting like second birthdays, it's just family. And like since he has a lot of like neighborhood friends, we wanted to open it up to just like his close friends. I texted Janice and I was like, Janice, he's gonna have a birthday party, but I'm not inviting you, okay?
I was so offended.
I know. I was like, for some reason, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna invite Janice and David, but I hope they're okay with it. I think they'll be okay. It's just a kid's party.
Yeah.
And then Janice was so offended. She's like, excuse me, I already have it saved in my calendar. And I was like, okay, I mean, if you have like nothing to do, then come. But if you have other plans that come up, please just go to that. And she's like, okay, fine, but I'm going for now.
Yeah.
But that also just kind of warmed my heart because you just prioritize just even like small second birthdays like that for your nephews and nieces. And there are going to be like, highs and lows. And I feel like this is healthy. It's not normal to always be like, it's okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
What we always said for college was like, it's okay to have a normal amount of stress,
We did say that a lot.
Whatever the hell that means. But it's like, it's impossible to not be stressed about certain things. And I just wanted to encourage you, Janice. Yeah, I feel like these are the moments when it's like healthy to let it out. And I'm glad you had that moment with David to just have that kind of dialogue. And even now, like, crying it out and just letting me know how you feel, that it's been a little bit hard. But then, once you kind of let that out, then you're like, you can get back up and be like, hey, I could, I'm hopeful, and there are people praying for me, and it's gonna happen. I don't know when, but in God's perfect timing, it's gonna happen, and I believe it. And Josh and I are always praying for you guys.
Thanks, Jess.
I'm on my way to my dentist appointment. I just randomly texted Janice saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you, and I love you.
And I was like, on the way to the dentist, Jess?
감동파괴. They're like, okay, just have fun at your dentist.
I didn't want to make this episode about me, but here we are.
I mean, it seems like we both had like a stressful week because of our people-pleasing tendencies.
Yes, I was thinking about that too, for sure.
Yeah, we definitely can relate because We don't want to inconvenience others.
Yeah.
That's our worst nightmare. And I related so hard because I feel like Josh and I are the same way, Janice, where like I kind of react and like, I mean, I get pretty angry with Josh too, but my default is also like stressing out and like, you know, being anxious and like, I want to like solve the situation right away, but then like I know I can't. And then Josh is also default anger. So yeah, it's hard navigating through that, but
Yeah. But I realize, like, you know, it's so important to have, now that I'm calm a little bit, like those kind of honest conversations.
oh yeah,
It's like no matter how similar two people are, right? There will always be differences, and it's not about like how one person can like adjust to the other. It's like working together to like just putting an effort to try to like understand the other person by like having conversations like that, and like, you know, showing it in whatever way. I think that's the most important thing in marriage.
beautifully said.
I think that was a little bit complicated to understand, but
No,
you
it
know,
wasn't at all.
I just, yeah, I get so stressed when we fight, but then after I feel I come out very thankful for
Oh
David.
yeah, I did notice that like when you guys fight, I feel like you don't really know how to express what you're feeling, and then you just like contain it, and
Yeah.
that's like a very like common pattern. You always cry by yourself in bed.
Wait, you do too though.
These days, I feel like I've become more angry. I do get emotional, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, look at me now, but with Hui and Josh in particular, I get very angry. So in bed, like I no longer cry, but I'm seething.
I think that's just the ajumma strength in you now. You know, it's different. You don't have time to cry. This is a very intimate and vulnerable conversation we're having today. You know, a lot of people say like when they listen to our podcast, it sounds like they're eavesdropping into like our conversation, and like it's like a conversation that they shouldn't be listening to.
I kind of like it though.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think today is dedicated to whoever may be feeling similar to, you know, Jess and me, our own situations,
Yeah.
our individual situations. Should we do the friendship questions?
I feel like it'll be overkill if we like
Oh,
do
is
it.
it?
I don't know. I guess we can like go through some of these, and I feel like maybe our listeners can try out these questions. It says 6 vulnerable questions. Okay, just from that, I'm like, ugh. So it says 6 vulnerable questions that will deepen your relationship with anyone. That's a bold statement.
Yeah. Just start with number 1. Is it like cringe? I don't want to cringe.
Let me just start off with one. Number 1 says, if this was our last conversation.
That's deep. Well, I guess like our friendship is already so deep.
But also like I think even in like friendships where we're already so close.
Yeah.
I think it's important to verbalize like what you're grateful for and like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like,
true.
You know, what if I'm getting
Don't cry. Don't cry.
What if like I don't see you again tomorrow?
What?
Like no, like for real. It's like what if, you know, like God forbid, but you know, what if this is the last time?
Yeah.
We talk to each other and like the last thing we say to each other is like something stupid, you know?
Yeah.
I would want you to know that you're deeply loved and that, you know, I'm grateful for our friendship. So
oh,
those are something. So that was like the first question that I read.
Okay.
Like, oh, if this was our last convo, what would you want to say?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. What does my love feel like?
Jess's love feels very it's genuine. Like when you care for somebody, it's really genuine. And I like whenever I'm going through, you know, troubles or like a dilemma, like I ask it to you and then you give me the most like helpful answers. Even if there's like, you know, with like baby stuff, well, like there is no answer, you know, you just gotta wait, you just gotta pray. But then Jess, I feel like you're really good at saying comforting words even in situations where there might be no answer. Does that answer the question? Like your love is very, like when you show your love, it's very genuine and you empathize, sympathize very, very much so.
That's so funny because today I was like talking to my speech parrot. That the word empathize reminded me of this conversation. I was telling like my like para educator who like assists me in like certain things at school. We're talking about how like it's hard to work with sixth graders because they're like on the cusp of going into puberty.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like telling him about how yesterday, this happened literally yesterday. I was working in a group like with my students, and all of them are fifth, sixth graders. And one of them, he's a sixth grader and he's on the spectrum, but he's academically high enough to be like in a general education class with other typical kids. But obviously, like he has like difficulties with like social interactions and like making inferences and with figurative language, like idioms and,
Yeah.
things like that. Last year, when I saw this dude, it was just one on one, just me and him, because I couldn't really fit him into another group.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I decided, like, oh, maybe he can go in with like an articulation group, which means like these two other kids, they work on nothing but just articulating their R sounds.
Uh-huh.
So they are like literally like typical kids. They're actually like very smart, but they just like can't say their R sounds. So they're in speech with me. Whereas this sixth grader, he has like a lot of goals, like with like social goals and again like inferring goals and etc. But like I think it was like too big of a change where he's coming from working one-on-one with me, and then now he's like in a group. And then plus we're like playing a game. So I think that was like kind of overstimulating because he like wanted to win. And then on top of that, like he couldn't get a like question right. Like he was struggling with a question. All of a sudden, like he's like, I don't want to play. Or like he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And he was like putting his thumb down. And he's like, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. I'm never coming to speech again. And he was like, he had hot tears like coming out of his eyes. And then the other two students were like so caught off guard because it was like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think what it was is like he was embarrassed that like he wasn't getting the question right. And on top of that, he's working on like a different goal. And then there was another sixth grader guy, and he was kind of being like patronizing to him. He was trying to be helpful. I don't think that was his intent. Yeah. But he was like, hey, like, you know it, right? Like it's, and he was like hinting it and like trying to be the teacher to him. So I think the sixth grader got like very 자존심 상해. His pride was hurt too.
Yeah.
Normally, I feel like maybe like a typical kid would express it in a different way where like maybe they shut down, they get quieter. Later on, they like, I don't know, they like walk out. I don't know what a typical kid would do, but he just like bursted out into tears. And he started like putting his thumb down to me, and I could like see him tearing up.
Yeah.
But I have this thing, and I'm sure Danielle Ju, our previous guest, can relate. When I see other people cry, even though I don't even really know like what emotion it is, my instant immediate reaction is to cry with them. So like when he was crying and he was like, yelling at me, I was like getting like teary-eyed. And then I had to really reel it back so that I don't like show that in front of them. Obviously I was like trying to talk to him, and like later he came and apologized. But all that to say, I shared that with my assistant, and I was like, I don't know why I always do that. And like that was kind of close because I don't want my students seeing that.
Right.
My weakness, you know?
You can show it to all your friends, but not in front of your kids.
Yeah. And then he was like, you're an empath, huh? And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe. He's like, yeah.
For sure you are.
Yeah, that's why you're reacting that way. And I was like, oh. By the way, you could cut this out, but he's 27.
I'm not going to cut it out.
He's 27. And like 딱 들어왔을 때 뭔가 되게 훈훈했어. He was like tall, and like he was like dressed very like proper. Like he had a button up, which I kind of like because it's like his first time working with me, and like 좀 he dressed 싹싹하게. He like wore a button up. And then at first I thought he was a college student. So I thought he was very young, like at least 10 years younger than me. Later on, I like kind of like small talked with him, and I was like, oh, like, can I ask like how old you are? I said like, are you a college student? And then he was like, it's been like 5 years since college. I'm like 26. And then later he was like, oh yeah, and I went to Korea to teach for a year. And I was like, you're Korean? And
he's
so
Korean?
He's Korean. Yeah.
Oh, what the heck?
He's Korean. He's like very tall and like 되게 훈훈했어.
Dude,
and he's
introduce
like,
him to somebody.
I know. And he's very soft spoken. but then not like in a way where he's awkward. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like it's like in a way where like he's like talking very soft and like gentle, but he's still carrying the conversation and asking good questions, you know? And then the whole time, all I am thinking, like while I'm conversing with him, is like, 누구 소개? Who do I introduce him to? Who do, 너무 괜찮은데? Who do I introduce this guy to?
Dude.
You know, he's a little young, but I was like,
it's okay.
dude, like 너무 괜찮다, you know?
Yeah.
And then, another thing was, this is what I was going to say. I've worked with a lot of like para educators, assistants before. And like a lot of the times I feel kind of 답답해 or like I feel frustrated because like whenever I like give them a task, it's like a lot of steps and a lot of information. For me, I can't remember all that. Maybe like they do remember it, so they're not writing it down.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd prefer to like write notes and like so that I could remember. But then most of the paras that I've had, they have never like written notes. But this guy, when I was talking, he whipped out a notebook and he was writing notes, everything that I said, so that he can get the instruction. Like he's listening to my instructions and he gets it done like well, you know?
Yeah.
그것도 너무 마음에 드는 거야.
진짜
like,
싹싹하네.
너무
일을
싹싹한
잘하네.
거야. And then most of my paras, they can't finish the responsibilities that I, you know, assign because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But then he finished it. He finished everything that I assigned him today while talking to me.
If he's 20, well, how old did you say? 25?
He was born in 1998.
It's a little too young for our 31-year-old friends.
Yeah. So I was like trying to think of like our friends, and I was like, he's kind of young.
Yeah.
So then I thought of Josh's sister, Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
And then I reached out. I was like, Michelle, you down? She's like, oh no, I'm not.
Why?
She's really shy. But I put Operation Make Beep my brother-in-law.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
you know, that's so funny that you say that, because anytime I like meet a good guy, not just like, you know, if I think, oh, this guy's pretty legit, I'm like going through, okay, Ellen, Sarah, Danielle, who else? I don't know.
Used to be Spake.
Used to be Spake. But this happened actually at church. So David used to play basketball with this guy. They weren't that close, but then they ran into each other in the bathroom and they were talking for a while. So I walked over there and I introduced myself. 근데 너무 괜찮은 거야. He mixed in some Korean. He's like smart. And we just had a really good conversation. It was my first time meeting him, but I asked him, I was very straightforward. I said, beep, are you single? I asked him that, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." He was a little taken aback by that question.
Like, why are you asking me, you married woman?
I was like, "Ani, because I really want to introduce you to my friend." I said that, and then he's like, "Oh, does she come to our church?" And I was like, she doesn't, but I'll bring her out. He's like, "Oh, like I actually want to meet someone that's like that goes to our church." And I was like, "Oh, dude, love the Lord." And he's like always serving and like indifferent. Shout out to beep, you know who you are if you're listening, but I'm trying to hook you up with my friend, my very good friend. So that's a project in my mind. But isn't that, he's such a wholesome guy, really good guy.
How old is he?
He's like 3 years older than us. I know.
Oh, he's oppa?
Yeah, he's oppa.
Yo.
So I was like, dude, Sarah, you better come out to church with me. And she's like, no. She's like, super
Sarah's
shy.
down, huh? Sarah, you're down. Be honest,
she better
Sarah.
be down, shoot. And then there was another guy that I actually introduced to Ellen. And I introduced her to him because he said he likes to spoil his girlfriends.
Oh. Oh, so you're really looking out like for those characteristics.
I am. Because I have not had a single successful Cupid story. I've introduced some of our friends to
quite
men.
a lot.
Yeah. None of them were successful. That's why I'm like, you know, eager to make something happen.
Matchmaking is a very, very intricate process. But
it's so fun. I love it.
I love it. But that was my first time feeling like,
it's so flattering for that other person.
That's true. Yeah. Cause it's like, it's not offensive if you're like, are you single? Like, I want to, you know, cause you're like complimenting them. You're like, hey, I think you're really cool. And like, you know,
exactly.
I entrust you to like be a good date for my friend, my close friend.
I don't know you, but I have a good feeling about you.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you suggest, Janice? Like I have never met this guy. This was like my first day meeting this guy.
Yeah. You got to keep it professional.
And actually, this was the only day he's working with me.
Uh-huh.
He was just filling in for
Yeah.
like my permanent
Uh-huh.
para.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, I have his number.
Uh-huh.
So that's a start. But I don't want to like just text him out of nowhere and
Yeah.
be creepy like that.
Wait, and you're never gonna work with him again?
No, probably not. And then at the end though, he was so sweet. I was like, oh, like beep. Like it was so like nice working with you. I'm sad
Oh.
that, and then he said it first. He's like, oh, I'm sad I'm not working with you. And I was like, yeah, like you were so like so helpful. And he's like, yeah, you were so chill. Like, you know, I've worked with a lot of like other SLPs and like they were really nice too, but I feel like you're the only one who kind of like asked me about myself. And like little does he know it's because I was like who do I introduce this guy to?
And
But
he knows that you're married and you have a kid.
yes, he knows. Yeah. I told him.
Because I don't want him to get the wrong idea. Like, this
no.
lady interested in me?
Oh, no, not at all. He knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. He sounds like he might not be on the market already. And also, if he's not, he's young. So he probably, you know, I feel like at 25, you don't need to be going on match-made dates quite yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless it's Michelle. If Michelle's down, then make it happen. Your sister-in-law.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to be creepy. Like, hey, by the way.
Yeah, because I only met him once, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if I see him again, like at like a social function.
Yes, if you meet him again, do it.
Like in a casual setting, like a speech department, like Christmas party.
Yeah, like, hey, by the way, like, are you single? Because I have a lot of single.
Yeah, you gotta continue it right away.
Yeah.
Are you single? Because I have a lot of friends.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And then
not
make
are
him
you single? Pause.
Yeah. That'll creep him out.
I've just been thinking about that, like, like 너무 아까워. And he's so busy. Like, I think he is single because he said like right after like this work, he tutors.
Wow.
Until 6 p.m. And then sometimes from 6 p.m. he has classes, online classes.
Oh my god.
Because he's like on his way to trying to go to grad school.
What a hard-working young gentleman.
He's hustling.
It's just funny how like our immediate reaction is that. You know what I mean? That's
such
just like
ajumas.
Yeah, such ajumas. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot let this man go.
Yeah.
I must make him marry our friend. One of our friends. Whoever the hell it is. Somebody take this man.
너무 아까우니까.
Oh, 아까워서.
좋은데? And then you just want to introduce them
to
somebody. So any of you single ladies listening, if you're interested in this guy that I'm talking about, shoot us a message.
Wait, can you describe like his features a little bit?
Okay.
So our listeners can get an idea.
He is like tall. I would say like about like 5'11", 6.
Excellent.
He's like on the thinner side. But he's not like skinny. Yeah, he's on the slimmer side, but not like skinny where you're like, oh, like I look bigger next to him. And he has no 쌍꺼풀.
Okay, musang.
He has a very kind face. Like he doesn't look 세 or like unapproachable, but he looks very 착해. He loves working with kids. So he is on his way to becoming a speech therapist like me.
I love how we're selling him on our podcast with him not knowing at all. Watch, he has a girlfriend.
And mind you, I met him today. I saw him for 5 hours. So this is a stranger I met for 5 hours.
I mean, you know, first impressions are everything. So again, when you meet him for the second time, if we have anyone in our audience, our fans are interested, maybe you can hook that up.
Yes, shoot us a message and I'll try to pry if he's single and if he's single and ready to mingle.
Oh my gosh, this would be a hilarious success story. If it happens, it would be hilarious to share on Honey Jam.
We can invite them back as guests.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be crazy.
Guys, let's make it happen.
I love how we started off strong with friendship questions and ended up with how we can hook our friends up.
Forget the friendship questions.
I think this is a natural segue into Kangchu of the week. Jess, do you have a Kangchu?
I love this segment, but sometimes I legit don't have any Kangchus.
Okay,
let me think about it.
I feel like you always get Kangchus, when I give you some ideas, when I share my Kangchu. So let me share my Kangchu. I've been, I turned 31 in August. Jess is turning 31 very soon in September. All of these things just kind of like hit me out of nowhere. Like for example, I have really appreciated listening to like old songs. These days, K-pop ballads, they don't hit the same as before. And I don't know if it's because now I'm getting older. 그냥 옛날 노래가 좋아, kind of like what we're talking about with Dishim and Dichun for Doria. But I came across an old song that I really liked in the past. It's called 언젠가는, and I like the version that Psy remade. It goes a little something like this.
Ooh.
젊은 날의 젊음을 모르고 사랑했던 사람이 보이지 않았네. 하지만 이제 뒤돌아보니 우리 젊고 서로 사랑을 했구나. Anyways, it goes a little something like that.
I recognize it. Yeah.
And it's just a song about how, it's about youth once again. It's a reoccurring theme. Youth is a reoccurring theme here on the pod.
We love 청춘.
Yeah. And just hearing that song as a 31-year-old, it hit different for sure. There are so many things that we didn't realize, I think, when we were young, that we were young. It's like a bittersweet song, saying goodbye for reals to 20s. I mean, I don't want to let go.
Just let it go. Let it go, Janice. Let it go, man.
So that's my Kangchu of the week. Give it a listen. It's a good song. David said it was mid, but I love it. I played it for him.
It's because I feel like David needs to understand the lyrics. Then maybe he'll like it even better.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I do have a Kangchu. It's not as deep as Janice's. But,
I love it.
I recommended this to Janice because she was feeling a little under the weather.
Ooh.
But it's something that our HOA president, Joanne, our previous guest, legendary episode, she recommended it to me, and I just wanted to kind of relay this Kangchu. It's like this vitamin C in lipid form.
Ooh.
And it comes in like little packets in a box. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Live On Lipospheric Vitamin C.
Okay.
And it's vitamin in lipid form, so it goes directly to your blood and it's absorbed much quicker. So whenever you're like feeling like you're about to get sick, or you just feel like, I feel like something is coming on, take it throughout the week, once a day, and I think it helps a lot.
I'm gonna buy it right now because I'm feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah.
Still, after crying so much, I'm like heating up right now. I think I'm actually kind of sick. That's an excellent Kangchu, especially for this climate these days.
Yes.
Our prophet Joshua has announced that there is another thing going around.
Mpox. Yeah.
So everyone, make sure you get your vitamin C. Make sure you get your flu vaccine, and stay safe from any kind of disease or sickness out there.
If you're traveling, please make sure to wear a mask because something is definitely going around, and we want our listeners to stay safe.
That's right.
Also, Janice, aren't we like so relaxed?
Dude, we're so relaxed. I don't even want to watch episode 1 because I'm like, I'll cringe at how nervous I was.
Like, we're such pros.
I will say my pits are still sweaty. A little
bit. Why am I sweaty? I think it's because we got emotional.
A little damp.
It is quite damp.
Thank you again to our listeners for tuning in today's episode. Today was definitely an emotional one. So we thank you for bearing with us and all of our emotions. And sorry if it was a little cringe.
Yeah. It was, but we do want to tell you that it was a genuine conversation about real things and real struggles. So
for sure.
We're sorry if it was a little too emotional, but we know that there are people out there that feel the same way and can feel comforted. So we hope you appreciate it.
Exactly. And with that, make sure to please subscribe to How It's Janice for our YouTube videos, and follow us on Honey Jam Pod on Instagram. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.